Hey everyone, welcome back to Code Throw. In this video, I'm going to be working on my project for my cow knight character who is called Sir Loin. As you can see here, this is my little cow character. I have upgraded some of the animations, made his ears more floppy, just like some of the feedback that I've gotten. And let's go ahead and get started. So in this video, I'm primarily just going to be restarting my ACF project. So I'll be making a top-down ARPG game. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually just set up my animations, and you can also follow along with whatever characters you're doing. And if you're not doing top-down, you can still use the same method in Ascent Combat Framework. So what I'm going to be doing is I created this ACF character who is a child of the player character. So we're starting from the very basic because this is a fresh project with just the ACF plugins enabled, as you will see here. And I've also enabled skeletal mesh editing tools. I'm not sure if I'll need it, but I will just test that out and stuff just in case I do need it. So now in my AnimBP, I'm actually going to right click, go to blueprint class and look for a simple template. And I want to use the ACF simple template ABP. And I'll just call this sirloin simple ABP. Now I'm going to double click to select the skeleton of sirloin and I'll hit OK. And I'm just going to double click to open this up and start assigning some animations and some movesets. So I'm actually, for this project, I am going to have different movesets. So sword overlay and an unarmed one. So I think for this project, I'm just going to have a couple overlays. So I'm going to disable the foot IK and get rid of this IK layer because I don't need any of the fancy stuff. And I'm going to actually make sure that Lumen, Nanite, and all these things are disabled from my project settings. So I'm just going to double check to make sure. So Lumen is disabled. Nanite also disabled. Okay, so it looks like I went to the engine.ini and added that r.nanite is equal to 0 command. So I'm not getting that any error. So let me just try. So I'm just going to add a debug key T and just to print, actually no. So now in my ABP, what I'm going to do is just make some of these moveset layers. So I'm going to click add and moveset tag is currently none. So I actually need to edit that in my project settings. So I'll go to edit project settings. And now when I scroll down to, so I'll go under engine, ascent, combat settings. I think this is the one, default tags. So hit state and dead state. So I'll go over to my actions, ascent action systems, open these up, and I'm going to set moveset. So I need to actually make this gameplay tag. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'll just call this moveset because that's going to be the parent, and select that default gameplay.ini and add this new tag and select this because moveset will now be my default action moveset action root tag. And I also need one for my actions. So I'm just going to add another one and just call this actions. And again, select that source of the default gameplay tags.ini and hit add new tag and just check this mark or put a check next to it to use this one. And now I'm going to go to Ace Ascent character controller settings, moveset type tag, and animation overlay tag. So this will also be moveset. Then I'm going to go down to Ascent combat settings, and I'll set this as, so for the hit, I need an actions.hit and an actions.depth. So when I have my actions selected, I'm going to add a subtag called hit. Just click add, and then I'll add another one called death, just like that. And now for the death one, I'll select actions.death. For the hit, I'll select actions.hit. And I also want to set one up for my dialogue settings. So in my default player response, I'm going to create a, let's create a character tag in this case. So I'll call this character. And this will actually be character.player because I need a player underneath this character tag. So I'll click new tag, and now I can select character.player. And now for my inventory, I'm just going to go down and set these up. I'll call the currency. So I'll set the item tag to item. So I don't think I have an item by default. So I'm going to go ahead and add that one. So this will just be item, and I'll select that. And then for the item slots, I'm going to actually just do item slots as well. So item slot, and I'll select the default gameplay tag and add that and select this. So for the world class item, currently it's ACF world item. And when I actually click to find it, I don't see it. So let's see, ACF world item. Oh, it's because it's a C++ class. So let me see if this is actually connected to the BP. I don't think so because when I click on it, yeah, okay, yeah, so it's not the BP one. So let me actually look at that BP one ACF World item and see what it says. So when I double click to open this up, it just has these interactable registered by pawn. And I'll just select this BP for now to test it out later. We are going to have to come back and maybe change this. I think we need to add something like play sound at location, get the actor location and actually pick it up. And then we're also going to have to see if our storage component is empty so that we don't just keep picking up infinite items. So I'll go back to project settings, and after my ascent inventory, I'll go to the load and save settings, and I'll just open this up. And I don't think I need to adjust any of these. I think these are default with Ascend Combat Framework. Go to the navigation settings, and these are just markers that I can add, marker icons I can add later on in the game. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do like exclamation marks and question marks, kind of like in a lot of MMOs. But yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is, so now we'll do the RPG stuff, and I'm gonna pretty much follow the same thing that Ascent Combat Framework does naturally. So I'm gonna add RPG statistics. So I'll add RPG dot primary attributes RPG dot statistics and RPG dot attributes. Max level, I'll just leave at 100. Attributes generation configuration. So for these, I think I'll come back to it. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be actually using a leveling system because my character is going to really progress from the boss items that gets through the dungeons. And for the default health tag, I need to make an RPG statistics under the health. So I'll click add tag and do RPG dot statistics dot health and click add. And now I can select this one and that'll be the main health tag. And now for my UI input, I can add certain icons eventually. So this will be pretty much my weapon icons, potion icons, and stuff. So I'll come back for these because I actually don't have these in my project. And then when I come back to, let's see, the Ascent UI settings. And okay, so there's a new game map and a main menu map. So I'll have to set these up at a later time too, but I can just set up the name as menu map and ultimate, or I'll set these up later. I'll also set up audio. I think actually leaving it as default is totally fine. And yeah, so now we can actually start creating our ABP, kind of like I said I was going to, but didn't actually really get around to this. So I want to create one moveset and one overlay. So for the moveset, I'm just going to select moveset. And for the overlay, it's going to be moveset. And then I need to add a subtag, and I'll call this moveset dot sword shield, just like that. And select it. And now I need to create two movesets. So one is for the regular moveset, which will be default, and then one will be the overlay. So I'm going to just compile and save, go back to my map, and I'm just going to right click and let's create a moveset. So blueprint class, and I'll do the simple moveset, just like that. Hit select and call this Sirloin moveset. And now I'm going to select my skeleton, double click to open this up. And now let's configure these settings. So we need blend spaces for the movement, a 1D idle blend space for the idle, because that's not going to be moving. Jumps, walk cardinals. I don't really have cardinals because this is just a very smooth like game. And I'll leave it as room ocean from montages only. And I'll just look for my jump start, jump idle for the fall loop, and jump end. And now let's create a swim, idle, and movement. So for my swim, idle, and movement, I'm going to go back to my map, right click, and under animation, I'm going to create. So this is just a regular blend space, which is good for moving, but I need to create a blend space 1D, which is under legacy. So I'll select my sirloin skeleton and call this idle BS. And now I just want to look for that idle animation. So I'll do just this regular idle. I'll do, is there a snap to, oh yeah. So for under horizontal, I'm just going to snap to grid. So it's just perfectly in the middle and hit save. And that's all I need for the idle. And now I'm going to right click, create another under animation, create a regular blend space now. Select the same sirloin skeleton and call this movement BS. And now I'll double click to open this up. And I just want to get the forward, or I guess, is it going to be jog, run? So run. So this is going to be the plane running. And again, open this horizontal axis, snap to grid, vertical axis, also snap to grid, just so it's centered out. And this is how it's going to run without any sword and shield on. And this is what it looks like with a sword and shield. So I'll go ahead and just save that. Oh, and a swim one. So let's see how to create a swim one. So I'm just gonna right click, create another blend space. Under animation, blend space, select the same skeleton and call this swim underscore BS for blend space. And let's do a swim. So I'm gonna add swim forward to 100 and a swim idle all the way on the left. So if it's still, yeah, so this looks pretty good. And let's also snap to grid for both of these, so it's a perfect line. Now I'll hit compile and save, and I just want to test out a few of these. So I'm going to go over to my sirloin ABP, and I need to select the sirloin moveset, just like that. This might cause us to T-pose, so I'm just going to delete. Actually, I'll just set it to sirloin. Oh, wait. Yeah, I haven't made an overlay layer. So I'm just going to delete this one for now and hit compile and save. But also in our moveset, we do need to assign the blend spaces we just made. I don't know why this happens sometimes. Let's see if I can reset this. Okay, there we go. So I just went to class settings, back to class defaults to reset this. And now I'm just going to select, so for movement, select movement, for idle, select idle, and for swim, we will look for that swim BS. This looks pretty good to me. So now I'll go back to my character. Under mesh, I'm going to select sirloin as my skeletal mesh and look for sirloin simple ABP, hit compile and save. And now I'm just going to, in my selected game mode, I'm going to look for sirloin VP. And I don't think, oh, I do have a player start. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit control play. Oh, wait, I set it to simulate. So I'm going to do select viewport. And now I can actually, so at least the idle's working, but I can't move around. And maybe that's because I haven't set up any input actions yet. So that's going to be pretty. So that's going to be pretty important. So let's go ahead and do that. So in my content folder, I'm just going to right click, create a new folder. And I'll call this actions, or actually I'll call this inputs, or just input. So I made this folder called inputs, double click to open this up, and I need to do a few things. So the first thing, under the input section, I'm going to create an IMC, an input mapping context, and I'll just call this Loin underscore IMC. And then I'll create another folder. Actually, no, this is fine. And I need to add some mappings here. So let's go ahead and create those. So back here, I'm going to go to input, create input action, and I'll do IA underscore movement. Add another input called this IA underscore equip. And let's do IA underscore block. So IA underscore block. And I'll add one for an attack. So I'll do IA underscore attack. And we'll definitely be coming back because there's going to be a ton more controls. But let's start with these for now. I think these look pretty good. Yeah, so let's open up movement, and I'm just going to set this value type to, I'm going to do axis 2D because we're only going to be able to go up and down on the map. And this looks good to me. So I can just close this out. And then for equip, this will have to be a digital bool, and I need a trigger of pressed. So under triggers, I'm going to add pressed. And then for block, this will also have to be a bool of while holding. So I'll open up the block. This is also going to be a digital bool. And for this one, I'm going to select hold. And I might have to change it to hold and release because on release, I need to cancel the blocking stuff immediately instead of playing the full animation. So I'll leave this one open for now just because I might need to change it. And the last one will be attack. And attack will just be a bool with a triggered of pressed. So this looks good to me. Now in my mappings, I'm going to add all of those. Oh, looks like I can only do one at a time. So I will add, holy crap, there's a lot of default ACF ones. Okay. So let's do movement first because that's going to be pretty complicated. So I can add a couple of control bindings. So I'm going to hit this keyboard and do W, hit this keyboard A, hit this keyboard S, hit this keyboard and click D for my WASD controls. So, all right, for my W, I want my modifier to be scalar because we are going to go up. And then for my A, since it's going left, so basically going up and right are both positive numbers on the X and Y axis, and then left and down are negatives on the X and Y. So for my A, I need to add two modifiers. For my A and S will both. So my A will have a negate modifier along with a swizzle input axis value. And then S should just be negate, if I do this right. Wait, what? Oh, that was for sugar. I meant to do modifier should just be negate. And then the D should be the opposite of my A key. So just swizzle input axis again, or just swizzle input axis values, and I'll hit save. But another thing that I want to do, I want players to be able to control and save settings in case they wanted to change this or add any additional stuff. So later on, I think at the very end, I'm going to be controller inputs because I do want to hopefully get this game on multiple platforms, maybe PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch as well, not just Steam or Epic Games Marketplace, depending on how things go. But let's go ahead and I'll leave it like this for now. So for now, I'm just going to go to my project settings tab, and under engine, I'm going to look for that enhanced user input right here. And I want to expand user settings, and I'm actually going to enable user settings, which is experimental. And this will pretty much allow people to change their settings and save it and have persistent controls in the game. And I'll configure this at the end of the video, but I do want to enable it now in case I want to output this to the UI because I want to get into the UI as I go. I don't want to save it all for the end and just kind of blow up on me. So now back in my IMC, I've done the WASD. I think I can just try, I can't try this out now because I have to add it to my blueprints over here, which I don't have anything going. And let me check my parent, who is just a player character. This doesn't really do much for me, actually. Oh, wait, there's another parent. Okay. So there's ACF stuff, I guess. So I'm going to ignore these two and only edit the one that I have in my content folder for sirloin because I don't want it to affect the entire folder in the engine, or else that'll affect all my other projects. So I will close out project settings, close out this world item, close out this move set, close out the swim. I'll leave the block open because I know I'm going to need to go back to this, and let's actually just finish our mappings. So for the attack, I'm just going to do left click, left mouse button, and I'll just set the trigger here as pressed. That looks good. Add another mapping for the block, and I'll set this up as right click on my mouse. And this will also probably be, I can just leave it as is because it inherits settings from the actions. So I can erase that too. And then I want to add another mapping, and this one's going to be for, what did I just do? Oh, wrong one. I need to add another mapping up here. And this one will be for equip, just like that. And I'll do one for equip for now. And if I go back to this, I should have already set it. Yeah, I set the trigger up to pressed already. So now I need to start being able to move my character. So what I'm going to do is head over to my blueprint. So I'll head over to my character BP, and under begin play, I want to make sure this is active. I can erase these two. And now for my movement. So I actually need to set up, I'll set up my movement here, and then I'll go set up those IMC defaults. So in order to do that, I'm just going to grab my IA movement like this. And now let's see. So basically when this is triggered, I need to force my character to look in a direction instantly. So from the action value, which is the 2D structure, the vector 2D that we're using, we're going to break the X and Y separately just so we can get a perfect rotation and start moving in the direction we want to. So I'm going to actually just make a vector out of the X and Y. You can leave the Z at 0 because we are not flying in this game. And then I want to normalize the return to create this into a vector. And then I'm actually going to pull out this return value and make rot from the X alone. And this is where I'm going to set the actor's rotation. So drag out the triggered and look for set actor rotation and plug in make rot from X into new rotation. And then I want to add movement input in the direction I'm looking at. So add movement input like so, and this will be from the normalized value. And I'll just double click to add this little node redirect to make it look pretty. And I'll add this one. I guess I don't really need one here. Okay, so this looks pretty good to me. Okay, this looks good to me. So now I'm just going to highlight over all of this, click C to comment, and call this movement. And for the color, I don't like anything. I don't like the light colored stuff on my graph, so I'm just going to call this movement. And now I'll hit compile and save. And I need to set up my IMC, or my input mapping context, onto my, let's do it on my player controller. So in the content folder, I'm going to right click, and I'll just add a folder called game mode. So all the stuff over here, except for the pawn class, will go in game mode. I'm going to right click, select a blueprint class, and select a player controller BP. So ACF player controller BP. And I will just call this Loin player controller. Drag this over here. Double click to open this up. And for the mapping context, it's defaulted to ACF, but I want to change it to sirloin. I'm going to set the base turn and lookup rate to 0. And let's see if I need to do anything else. So by default, it spawns nothing. I don't know why is there an empty array open. I'm just going to delete that. Well, I'm not going to be spawn. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be spawning just yet, but Okay, so this looks good to me now. So we're gonna just try this out. I'm gonna save, and it looks like I made a change somewhere, and it's not letting me. So I'll test this out in a second. So now when I hit play, I can move, and it is. Oh, okay, okay. I see what's going on. So it looks perfectly fine. My cow does look really big. Oh, I forgot to add a jump input, so I'll have to do that too. But essentially, when I move, you can kind of see a flicker going on, and that's because motion blur. And when I go to file, that's because of motion blur. So when I go to project settings, look for motion blur. I want to turn off motion blur. I personally don't even like motion blur in anything that I play. So now when I spin, there we go. It looks smooth the whole way. No motion blur at all. Awesome. But let's go ahead and do a couple things. So first, we're gonna fix the camera, or yes, actually, maybe I'll just scale this down a bit. Okay, actually, let me see if I scale this down, would this look weird? Looks like it didn't scale. Oh, that's for the audio comp. I don't know what. Why does it let me scale the audio comp? Okay, so if I scale down the mesh by 0.5 point, and yeah, I think this size looks pretty good. I'll just adjust it from here, and I'll finalize it later, just to see how the mobs are. So what I'm gonna do next is, after adjusting the size of this, I need to actually go in and fix the camera settings. Oh, let me also fix these collisions. So the height, I'll do something like 50. So let me just go to my actions, right. Oh, I'll go to my inputs, right click, go to input action, and I'll call this IA jump. Double click here, make sure it's a digital bool, which is only going to calculate when it's pressed. Save this, exit out, add this to my IMC, add a mapping, call this IA jump, or select that IA jump we created. And then when I open this up, I'm just going to select spacebar, and the setting behavior is fine. Inherit settings from action, save all, and go back to my test room. And now when I jump, oh wait, I didn't set it in my blueprint. So as for my capsule collision, actually I forgot to do this one as well. I need to set this to something like let's do, I guess 50 and 50 is totally fine for now. 50 and 50, and I'll make the interactable area a little, maybe like a little bigger. Oh, okay, I'm not actually seeing it here, so maybe it's bigger than what I think it is. So I will drag my character up right here, making sure the leg actually matches with the bottom end of this capsule collider, and this looks fine for me. And now I'm going to hit compile and save. And another thing I want to do is actually play around with the spring arm of the camera. So for these settings, I'm going to set this. So for the spring arm, I'll set the target arm length to 500 and zero this out, zero this out. And I'll actually select 500 for the offset to make it high, because I want it to be from a high angle, and I want to rotate the camera itself. So select camera, and I will just make the Y -50 so that it looks like it's pointing directly at my character, like so. So now when I hit compile and play, this looks pretty good. So now I can move left, right. It's really smooth. And yeah, I can move around. This actually looks amazing. I think it's a little bit to the right though. I don't feel centered. Oh no, it's centered. I just have to move my head towards the left to talk into my mic is all. So let's go back and add a IA jump. So for the jump input action, it's just going to trigger our jump event. And let's do on canceled. Or actually, let's see if this just works. Would this work? Wow, this looks horrible. Oh, that's kind of weird. Why was it? So now I need to fix my animation montage, because for some reason this is not working. So let's go to my move set, or simple ABP. Actually, yeah, my sirloin move set, and try to get these jumps. So I have a jump start, jump idle, and jump end. Maybe I need to set all my animations as root motion. Let's try that out. So I'll bulk edit all my assets. Oh, I need to enable root motion for all of them. And let's just try it with force lock. So when I hit play,